Yeah.
But there is some end point, but there seems to be...
There's an end point, but there's not, in a way. There's always going to be a sense of maturing.
Yeah.
You know? There's a seeing that kind of ends a journey. That does end. The journey, the sense of trying to become enlightened, that comes to an end. But I think it's like maturity is kind of like when I'm talking to my daughter and she'll be complaining to me about what some other kid is saying about her. And I'm telling her, honey, that's just their opinion. Why does that matter? And she's like, yeah, I know that, and I knew you were gonna say that, but it still bothers me, right? Right? So that's kind of the same way with awakening. It's like, I know the truth, I'm sure of it, but then a lot of times my body doesn't behave as if it knows the truth. So the maturity is like assimilating what is known intellectually with, what is known spiritually, in a way. And you can't force that. I don't think you could read more and learn it to move it ahead. It's just like a flower just takes so long to grow from a seed into a full blossoming flower. And that every step along the way is equally as important. And I think that the beauty of after the searching is over, after there's no more journey, but there's still maturity, that phase is about just loving yourself unconditionally, because you haven't felt that unconditional love for so long, for your whole life. You've been seeking it from your parents and from mates and from wanting people to like you, seeking that love and that gratification, and now it's flowing from within. No matter what happens, no matter what the body does, it's just an unconditional love for oneself and non-judgment. Welcome. We were waiting on you guys, so we haven't really started.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, I think, does that answer it? Does that kind of...
But there's moments that the unconditional love isn't flowing, where there's getting caught in the identification. So maybe there's not for you anymore. Is there?
Well, I think that, no, I don't have moments where the unconditional love is not flowing.
Yeah. So so there's that clear seeing, and then maybe I don't know for you if there was a maturing.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm maturing in that. Not necessarily as if I'm becoming something that I'm already not.
Right, I understand that.
It's just that the awakening is infinitely fresh and new. So it's never, there's always more. There's always more awakening. It's like it's like when you have an actual nap. Some people take a nap, and when their alarm clock goes off, they're up. They hit the alarm clock and they're ready to go, right? Other people, they hit the alarm clock over and over again. They wake up and they go back to sleep.
Exactly.
All right, go back to sleep. So I think, as long as we're in these bodies, we're kind of waking up. Now, you can be done with the journey and still be kind of still waking up. That's why I'm so fascinated and so addicted to satsang and teaching spiritual things, because it's like wakes me up. It's like a way of kind of waking me up and causing me to see truth. If people are looking for me to tell them how to see truth, then I have to be speaking from that place. So I make my speak. I always got to speak in engagements. Always. You know, it's always something lined up. You know? And I'm not...
So your awakening was an immediate overflowing love that didn't leave. Is that was your definition of what? Or was there a transition before that?
Yeah, there was a transition before that.
So that moment of, so when we're in transition, speaking,
Mm-hmm.
and those moments come up where there's a clear seeing, but then there's a hook, and the hook, you know, that's identification into something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly that, where there's a seeing that there isn't a loving of the self.
Mm-hmm.
You said just love it unconditionally, but it's not always easy to love it unconditionally, or if it comes up naturally, then that's fine. It'll just do that. But if it's not,
you gotta just do your time.
you gotta do your time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's if you listen to that, like if you say, okay, well, I gotta do my time, that's kind of freeing. In a way.
You sound like going to prison, you know, when you gotta do your time.
Yeah, no.
It sounded like...
No.
Okay, yeah,
I want you to look at it from
stay with it.
the perspective like, oh, that's it? This is just residual conditioning from the past?
Yes, that's what we're talking about. Residual conditioning from the past.
Yeah. It has to play itself out. Right? It has to, you have to catch your mind or your thinking in the hand of the cookie jar over and over again. Got you. Every time it's creating drama, and every time there's identification and there's a lack of self-love, you have to catch it. So now that you've had your initial awakening, you see truth. Now it's about recognizing when the mind is playing tricks on you in that awareness now. So now it's like, you know, you're walking across, you have on flip-flops and you're walking across cement, and you're just not even thinking, you're just walking across that way. And the ground is wet and you just walk across and you just continue walking, and then you slip a little bit, right? You're like, whoa. You still have to go that way. But now you start walking, but now you're just kind of paying attention to your walking, right? So after that initial spiritual awakening, your attention is not just on what the mind has to say about your story in your life. Now your attention is on, it's like turned within. Like, what is my mind doing? This is a brand new way of seeing. And you will you will fall asleep in your identity. But when you wake up, there won't be any continuity in that identity. So that when you fall asleep in that identity, and then you realize that you were asleep and that was just the mind, you're brand new and fresh from that moment. Right? In the beginning, the mind will say, "Oh, you shouldn't have, you're further along than that. You've been meditating, or you've already had a spiritual awakening. You shouldn't be going through these things." That's what the mind will do. And that'll continue. But slowly but surely, you'll start to identify with the part of you that's watching the thoughts, as opposed to identifying with the actual mind movement. You're the silent watcher.
Thank you.
So